to give you a kind of a brief introduction into your assignments this week and kind of the ideas that will help lead you into success with your projects. So, question. Where do websites come from, not Dylan? Dylan has sat through these lectures before. He visited my class for my week 1 last month because he does a lot of web design and development on the side, and so he knows all of the answers to my trick questions already. Where do websites come from, guys? I've only had one class ever give me the exact answer that I was looking for. I make it vague on purpose.
Is it bad that I forgot?
It's not bad that you forgot. I'm glad you're here to review. Okay, they come from the content. That's true. They don't come from Amazon Prime, or the stork doesn't drop them off on the doorstep. Why do we build websites?
To show information.
To show information. I'll hang you out there just for a few more seconds. Yeah, Jesse's already been graded. He's just here to absorb.
I had this over a year ago.
Yep. Websites come from a need, right?
Oh.
Because they need to be created. And that need is different based upon the entity that wants a website, right? So this month, we are going to be looking at that need through the lens. This is my little lens graphic. From both the user's perspective, the target audience, and the business, so the client side. I am going to walk you guys through a website development scenario from start to finish. I'm doing this because I want you to have an idea of the process in case you ever get tapped or asked or hired to create a website for a client. You will know the steps that you should take in order to produce a strategic result. Right, so we are going to be looking at this need through the lens of both the target audience and the business itself. So what are some of the user needs? When I go to a website, or anybody goes to a website, they're generally there for 3 reasons, 3 broad reasons, and that would be to satisfy a goal of some kind, to get questions answered, or to complete a certain kind of task. We talked about user behavior as being very mission driven. I have a reason why I'm going to this restaurant site. I need to know if they take reservations. And that's the only reason why I'm there. I already know that I want to go to this restaurant. I already know they're good. I already know they have gluten-free options, but my mom's in town and I just need to know if they take reservations because I don't want to wait an hour. Very specific mission for going to the site. What are some of the business needs? Right? If I am a client or I am a business and I need a website, perhaps it is to establish an online presence. Perhaps it is I just want to promote my brand or sell a product of some kind. Maybe I just want to share information on a topic or raise awareness, or maybe build community around an idea. Maybe it's just that I want to capture other kinds of contact information so that I can market to you or capture leads, right? So again, user needs and business needs. As web strategists or web designers, we are going to be looking for the area where those things intersect. What is in the best interest of the target audience and in the best interest of the business, right? You guys, we talk about you or call you guys media strategists all the time. The reason why we call you that is because you wear many hats. You can do a lot of things. You are not specialized. You are that Swiss Army knife that you want to have in your pocket that can do a lot of things, right? You're not just for one sole purpose, right? You guys are multidisciplinary. You will be looking at these website development scenarios or opportunities or challenges, with ideas about graphic design, with ideas about the information architecture or the user experience or specific marketing focus or usability or project management or social media or, fill in the blank, right? You guys have a lot of foundational knowledge that allows you to approach this from a very well-rounded perspective. So you guys will be approaching it as web strategists. We call you media strategists in MCBS, but in this class, you are a web strategist because it's not just about the design. It's not just about the visual aesthetic. It's about how does this work? How does it function? How does it meet the needs of my target audience and meet the needs of the person who hired me to create this site? It is about thinking and strategy as much as it about how beautiful it looks, because it doesn't matter how beautiful it looks if it does not function well, right? So again, where do websites come from? A need. And they also come from emails that look like this that come into my inbox almost on a daily basis. So in addition to being an instructor at Full Sail, I have also had my own freelance media company since 2001, right? So not too many years to do the math at this point. But I do a lot of website development on the side for small businesses and different types of organizations and entities. It is not my bread and butter, which means I don't hustle for work. I usually get referral-based stuff. Somebody who knows me or knows my products or knows, somebody that I know ends up emailing me about a project. And that's how I go about, getting this freelance work. So in this particular email, I have a friend who's asking me about a web project. It might be hard for you to read up there on the screen, so I'll give you a short summary. It says, hey, I have a possible job for you in web if you're still doing that sort of thing. A friend of mine had this raging business, but some internal disputes fractured the company, and my friends are trying to recover. They've been working with someone to develop a site based on their new business name, but that person hasn't been very responsive, and they've gotten this far. It's a WordPress site, and my friends will get the admin and password when they pay the current developer for what he has done. They're not paying him, they're just waiting for an appropriate stopping point, and I think they've gotten there. I went over the site with my friends yesterday, and there are a number of changes that I suggested that they make. So here's the deal. Do you want to take over? They only need you to finish the structure, but then they can populate it. I can go over the changes with you, and then maybe you could ballpark a price. What do you think? Oh, Jason. Oh, Jason. This is not the Jason you guys know, just so you know. A different Jason. The reason why I share this with you is because every time someone's going to approach you about a project, whether it is web design, videography, social media, it's going to look different, right? It's going to have different needs. Like there's a lot of needs here, right, for this business that likely aren't the same as any project I've ever worked on before. And you're going to get a lot of these different requests, but then you need to systemize how you respond to these requests so that you get all the information that you need to decide, number one, do I want to take this project? Number two, if I do I have enough information to create a strategy or a proposal? And number three, do I know enough about this that I could give an estimate in terms of time and costs, right? So this type of inquiry, this is just like the first line of communication, should kick off a series of events on your side of things to help get all the information that you need to do a proposal and an estimate and ultimately to decide, is this project right for you? This is called the discovery phase, right? So we talked a little bit in the objectives earlier about what are the 4 phases of the web development cycle. Discovery is the first one. That is information gathering, right? And so it kind of is very similar to the production life cycle as well. You can consider this maybe the pre-production aspects. You're getting all the information that you need to make a plan to execute and to create this thing that needs to be created. whenever I can, I'm going to share with you guys tips about how does this work in freelance, or how could you approach this from a freelance perspective. When you're doing freelance, time is money, right? Anytime that you invest in a project, ideally you're getting paid for that time. But what happens when someone like this contacts you and they need a whole bunch of information from you and they haven't even yet hired you for this gig? I could spend a good 4 to 6 hours trying to figure out what are the needs of this project before I spend another few hours developing a proposal and submitting it to them. And they might not even say yes, right? So then what have I spent? 6 hours invested in this? How can I systemize this so that I can gather all the information that I need, right? And that generally comes from asking the right questions. Anytime that someone wants you to build them a website, there's a number of questions that you should get the answers to before you ever even put a quote or a proposal together. And the best that you can do to systemize that response, the easier it will be on you in terms of time and effort, right? Let's say with this guy right here, I said, yeah, I'm interested, let's meet for coffee. So now we have to spend some time sending emails back and forth to decide on a mutually agreeable date and time. And then we make a plan to meet somewhere. I have to include all the time that it takes to drive, all the gas money. How much money am I going to spend on coffee while we're sitting there talking for a couple of hours? All the gas money and all of the time on the way home. I've gathered up all this information, and now I've still got to go home and write up a proposal. Again, I might have already invested 6 hours at this point. How can I make this happen faster? Instead of saying, sure, let's meet, I'm very curious, I can respond. I'm very, excited to hear more about your project. If you wouldn't mind, please fill out this new client questionnaire that I have that asks all the questions that you need answers to. That person can do it on their own time, and then you receive that information, and you have not invested any time yet, but you've got maybe that 4 hours worth of conversation that you can then more quickly move into creating a proposal for that. Now that's just like a quick freelance tip on how do I minimize the time that I invest in a project before I'm actually getting paid for my work, right? And so looking at this email, like what are some of the questions that you might have for this individual? Dylan?
So the first one, the biggest question is it's not his issue. He needs to have the actual person contact you because it's an awkward middleman.
Okay.
Wants to be part of.
Yep. So basically what you're saying here is that, it would be better to be actually talking to the potential client themselves rather than a middleman. So that's great. Like, who is the legit contact person on this project that I'll be dealing with? What else?
What the project actually is, because even though you're making a website, but what do they already have? I know they showed the website, but that's not enough.
Yep. Exactly. So what is this? What is the scope of this? What is the end goal? Are we talking about a 5-page website, or are we talking about a 50-page website? And do you already have content for this? And is the content available to me in electronic form that you can easily send to me so that I, can do what I need to do with it? Do you have a sitemap already? Do you have any type of branded content that I need to know and understand the styles of so that I can apply? Are there any kinds of features and functionalities specific to the site that you're needing? Not just text on a page, but a blog or an events calendar, or maybe you want social media integration in there. Maybe you want, video incorporated, or large gallery images or banner images. There are all kinds of things that I would want to know on the front end before I could say, yeah, I can do this, and this is how much it's going to cost. I need a true picture of the scope of this project and what are the needs of this particular situation. Again, every scenario is going to be different. I highlight this one because it gives me red flags. Like when I got this, I was like, oh, I don't want to say yes, but this is a friend, and here's a red flag for me. Number one, My friends had a business, but then there were disputes that fractured the company. That just sounds like, ugh, like a lot of confrontation and what happened. And like, I don't want to get mixed up in something that's like, I don't know, drama, right? Like, I'm too busy for drama. Like, I've got a day job. I want, simple projects that I can, create something of value for somebody who needs it, right? So that was one that I was like, the other thing is that they've already had a developer working on it, and they just want me to take over. But what if the developer has done something that, like, I don't agree with how it was built, or I don't think it's a best practice, or I don't think it's the best strategy to, achieve what the business wants to achieve? Am I now just like the hand that continues, drawing this terrible thing? Or do I have the opportunity to come in, like, wipe it clean and start from scratch, right? And also, like, how much content are we talking about? The other thing here is that there's this line that says they only need you to finish the structure, then they can populate it. But they've already told me that it's a WordPress site. That's exactly what WordPress is the structure. If you are using the structure, all they're asking you to do is to put the content in, right? So if you're asking me this question, or you're telling me this, and you don't understand the nature of what WordPress is, or that the people who want to populate it don't know enough or don't have the technical sophistication enough just to be able to populate it already, right? So then my job is not just build the site, finish it up so that they can populate it. It's education, it's training, right? And that takes time too. So the reason why I kind of highlight these caveats is that, like, no project is either, they're not going to be alike, but there's always like hidden things too that, like, you need to find out on the front end so that you can make sure that your estimate of your time and your effort is right on. Because the worst thing would be to underquote something or be like, oh, I can do this for you in like 3 hours. And then realize it's actually going to take you 30 hours to do it, but you've already quoted 3. So you're going to end up making $100 when you should have made $1,000, right? So I bring this up to you guys at the start of what you're doing in this class because I want you to keep track loosely of how much time you're spending doing these different things so that you know, if an opportunity comes up in the future, it takes me this long to come up with a proposal. It takes me this long to do a sitemap. It takes me this long to sketch out a wireframe. It takes me this long to build a 5-page site, because then you can extrapolate from there how much time you might need in another given scenario. We talked about the website development process having 4 stages: discovery, design, develop, and the deployment. So that's the launch of the site. The discovery, again, is information gathering. I am getting everything that I need in order to give you a proposal. When I've given you a proposal, it should answer all your questions, not raise any questions. The proposal is going to tell you exactly what my specific recommendations are, why I recommend those things, and how I intend to do that by building you a website, right? This is the system I'm going to use. These are the pages that I think need to go. This is why I recommend social media. You are addressing all of the questions on the front end so that client has the confidence to say, you know what, Claudia, I really believe that you understand my vision for this and what my need is, because you have really allowed me to believe that you've got it together. I see with your specific recommendations, it makes sense to me. You've estimated this out, properly. You've told me what you need. I have confidence that you can actually get this job done. So here you go. Here's 50%, the 50% deposit that you've required on this. Get started. I'm happy to pay you the rest when you've launched the site. Your proposal should be so well done that they are just like, this person knows what they're doing and they've got a plan in place. Then once you've created that proposal, use it like a checklist as you go through creating the project. It's going to keep you on scope, and it acts as a beautiful articulation between you and the client for what has been agreed upon for what's happening with the project, right? So in your proposal, if you recommend a 5-page site that has A, B, C, D, and E pages, when the client goes, oh, I thought there was going to be a FGH page on there, you can say, no, actually, if you go back to the original proposal, that we that you agreed on, you can see here that this is how we've defined it. But if you'd like to add page FGH at some point, I'm happy to give you a quote on that as a phase 2 on this project, right? So the proposal is designed to be very clear about the expectations on both ends and to keep you guys on track, right? So that you don't have scope creep. We don't have project management as a course anymore in MCBS, which is too bad, but you will see elements of project management in every single class because you have to get from idea, brainstorming, information gathering to execution and launch whether it's a website or whether it's a video production, right? And you want to be careful of scope creep. Scope creep is when the initial agreed upon idea grows wildly out of control, right? And that it's no longer what was initially conceptualized as or agreed upon, right? After you you're doing this information gathering, you would do, that's what inventorying is. I'm asking you questions, I'm getting answers, I'm seeing what you have available, and I'm including that information with my own research to develop a proposal of some kind. And once I've given you the proposal, which is the articulation of the agreement, you're either going to say, yes, you really can understand my vision for this site and you've created a great plan and map for it, so let's go ahead, or they're going to have questions that you'll need to address, or they just won't believe that you have the ability to do what you've said that you want to do. Then you move into the design phase. So this is where you would do things like create a mood board or a mock-up of a single page so that you could show the client, this is how I intend to structure the site. These are content areas. This is like my vision for templating and styles. You can see that I've been able to take your brand and extend it elsewhere, onto the site. What do you think about this one page that I've mocked up? Good? If it's good, you can proceed with the rest of the pages with confidence. The worst thing you could do is to create the entire site and then show it to the client. Because if they have thoughts about your color choices or your typography or the way or the template that you've chosen or the way you've laid things out, you now have to go back and change 5 pages at least, or however many pages of the site instead of just the initial mock-up, right? When you get the go-ahead on the design, then you move into the development of all of the other pages and making sure that everything is working as intended. And you do all of these final checks before you deploy it, right? And deploy it is the launch out into the world. Inevitably, there will be needs in terms of maintenance or to add more content, or maybe you find something that isn't worded right or the link doesn't work. So you'll have to circle back again and make some changes there. But that's generally the process and the cycle for this. Discovery, info gathering, design. Is this good, client? Development? If so, let's proceed and launch. And then the deployment, putting it out there in the world. All right, heads up. This is what's going on in week 1. The first activity that you have is an exploration activity, which is a simple, risk-free, fun introduction to some concepts and techniques specific to user experience and content strategy. This is a very short lynda.com tutorial. It's fantastic and it absolutely has value beyond this course, right? So as you are watching it, I think it's like an hour and 30 minutes or so. Be thinking about how do these things extend just beyond editing for the web, right? I ask you to watch that course, and then I ask you what are 3 points of interest, and then how are you going to approach your fictitious website development scenario with Real Deal Tacos based upon what you learned in this, right? Easy peasy. Next up is your competitor research analysis. This is where I ask you guys to create a short video review of 3 potential competitors for Real Deal Tacos, right? Real Deal Tacos is a food truck business located in San Diego, California that serves Baja-inspired fish tacos and that kind of cuisine. And so I get questions like, can I use Taco Bell as a competitor? Yes, because if they serve tacos and Real Deal Tacos serves tacos and the food truck is parked on a corner right next to a Taco Bell, then they are a competitor. I get questions like, can I review other food trucks in San Diego? Absolutely, because if that food truck is parked outside the San Diego Zoo with a barbecue food truck, that is going to be a competitor of theirs in that particular location. I get questions like, can I review other food truck, fish taco food trucks in other locations in the world? And I'm going to say yes, even though that's not a direct competitor for what's operating in San Diego. The idea is for you to get an idea of these different types of sites, right? And to be inspired with your choices for what you intend to do for Real Deal Tacos, right? And so in this short 3-minute, I repeat, 3-minute video review, I want you to review 3 potential competitors for Real Deal Tacos. There are specific activity instructions in the FSO write-up, but you're looking at what works with the site, what doesn't, how do they stand out, what's different, what is unique about what they're doing, what are the keywords, how are they approaching these different things. It is expected that you will be working from a script or notes on this review. Again, this is very brief and impactful commentary. No no derps, no long pauses while you're trying to figure out what it is that you want to say. You're creating a piece of media here that should adhere to best practices for creating a video, right? 3 minutes. Last but not least, you've got your proposal presentation. This is your project this week. Based upon what you learned from the content strategy, Linda, from what you have read in your book, from what you learned by looking at potential competitors, you are going to be coming up with a proposal for your Real Deal Taco clients that says, this is how I want to approach creating a website for your business. Now there is a Google folder that is full of content for this particular scenario, and you're going to need to go in and take a look at the assets that are available to you for this particular assignment to understand the needs of the client and what they have already to provide for you. Content development is not a requirement on your part for this particular site, right? Because they give you a folder that has pictures and that has their menu and that has the text, right? Your job is how do I, knowing what I know about laying content out in an interactive medium and sharing content for a particular target audience, I need to make smart decisions about what to share and where and how to highlight certain things for a seamless user experience. In this proposal presentation, there are 4 parts. The first one is the proposal, which is your specific strategy and recommendations. The next part is a sitemap, which is a basic outline of the pages and the content that you will find on those pages. There is a wireframe. A wireframe is a simple diagram. You can use free and available tools online, or you can feel free to sketch it out by hand. It is not designed to show details of color or aesthetics or even real typography or words. Think of it like a blueprint for building a house. Right? On that blueprint, you don't have renderings of where the couch is going to go or the dining room table. It is just to show you the general rooms or the general content areas. So what I'm looking for is, this is the header, this is where the logo is going to go, this is where the navigation is going to go, this is where the main content, this is where the image banner is going to go. Last but not least, the deliverable on this, which is the 4th part, is a narrated presentation of the first 3 elements. Right? So it is a keynote or Google Slides or PowerPoint of you talking through your choices. So you most likely will either screen capture using QuickTime or ScreenFlow or Camtasia, or recording your voice through the keynote or PowerPoint presentation itself, giving your thoughts, right? And so I don't want you to read verbatim bullet points on these slides. I want you to, it's like you're presenting this to a client and you're trying to get them to believe that you are the right person to build the site because you have a legit, strong strategy. You have a strong sitemap that outlines the content and where it's going to be found, and a wireframe that gives them a visual idea of your intentions for laying out that content on the page. So ultimately, the deliverable here is kind of a video of a presentation. Does anybody have any questions about that? If there are no questions about that, then this concludes your week 1 content overview. If anything comes up or you need clarification and it's not something of a personal nature, feel free to post it in our class messaging thread, because ultimately if you have a question about an assignment, I think that the answer would likely benefit the group, right? And so I thank you for your attention to this lecture. The archives will be posted shortly.